Yo, what is going on, everyone? My name is Nick, or the Notorious Fantasy, and in today's video, I'm doing a half PPR 12-team mock draft on fantasypros.com. If you guys would like to draft on here, the link is going to be down below in the description of the video. This is a 12-team mock draft, like I said, from the 5th overall position. I'm going to be trying to touch on half PPR, PPR, and standard mock drafts from a variety of different league sizes all summer long to help you guys win your fantasy football championship. So if you guys would like that, please make sure to click that subscribe button down below if you are new. So in this league, it is 1 quarterback, 2 running backs, 2 wide receivers, a tight end, kicker, defense, 6 bench spots, and obviously a flex spot. So we are going to be using the composite ADP of all of these websites. So it's going to be Yahoo Sports ADP, Fantrax, and Fantasy Football Calculator to best give us the chance to see a draft that what it's going to look like for you guys on draft day. Now, I actually advise for you guys to use Fantasy Pros to draft a whole lot, but if you don't have the subscription that is like the Hall of Fame package, which is what I have, and if you want to buy that, you can actually buy it down below with my code. But you can just draft on like NFL, ESPN, wherever you're going to have your actual draft for your final mock drafts. You have the best idea of what the ADP is going to be since you can actually see it on your screen of what it's going to look like on draft day. So we are at the 5th overall spot. So looking at the draft board before us, we see Christian McCaffrey, Saquon Barkley, Ezekiel Elliott, and Michael Thomas, a very typical first 4 picks of the draft. Typically, you see the 3 running backs go, and then you're either going to see a 4th or you're going to see Michael Thomas. Typically, Michael Thomas goes from the 4, 5, 6, 7 range at the picks overall in the draft. Now, in some leagues, you're going to see people really hammer on the running backs, and then they wait on Michael Thomas, but in most time, you're going to see Michael Thomas around this spot. So now we are up. This is a half PPR league. I'm going to go ahead and hide the tiers to make it not hide the tiers, hide the drafted players to make it much easier for you guys to see. Now, to me, this pick is locked and loaded. It is straight up easy town who I want to pick here. The big 3 running backs have already been taken, so I'm going to go ahead and take the 4th big running back in Alvin Kamara. I believe Alvin Kamara is going to have yet another amazing year. Last year, we saw him play his floor year. There's in fantasy football, people talk about floor and ceiling. The floor is kind of, if the player plays shit, that's where he's going to play. Not necessarily shit, but where he'll be fine right there. He played floor play last year. He did the bit of foreplay on you before he fucked you over because he didn't play that great, but he was fine. You know, he did good. And then you're going to see what the ceiling is. The ceiling for Alvin Kamara is the running back 1. He's in a system in New Orleans where they're going to be giving the ball to him a whole shit ton. Sean Payton developed the team to do one thing. Or actually 3 things. It's Drew Brees gets the ball. He either hands it to Alvin Kamara, he throws it to Alvin Kamara, or he throws it to Michael Thomas in like 0.7 seconds so that his ass doesn't get run over and put in a hospital because the guy's so old. So you're going to go ahead and draft Alvin Kamara here. I think this is a very safe pick, especially in a half PPR league. He is going to be seeing a bunch of dump-offs coming his way, as well as plays designed for him to get open down the field. The guy will absolutely murder a DB if you put him on to try to cover Alvin Kamara. So after we go with Alvin Kamara, Dalvin Cook came off the board, followed by Devontae Adams, Derrick Henry, Joe Mixon, Nick Chubb, Tyreek Hill, DeAndre Hopkins, Josh Jacobs, Julio Jones, Aaron Jones, Chris Godwin, Lamar Jackson, Travis Kelce, and Patty Mahomes. Now, like I say in all of these mock draft videos, and in all of my videos pretty much when we're talking about the draft, the quarterbacks in your fantasy league will go at the most random spots. Now, if you've been playing with your friends for a while or with the people you've been playing with for a while, you may actually be able to figure out, hey, I know that these guys like to go quarterbacks early in the draft. I know that they might want to wait on quarterbacks. Now, if you're playing with new people, you probably have no idea. So the basic understanding is if these people are not very good at fantasy, the quarterbacks are going to go in the first 2 or 3 rounds. You're going to see Pat Mahomes, Lamar Jackson come off the board. That's just how it's going to be. If you're playing in a more experienced league, maybe round 4 is going to be where those quarterbacks go. But you never know because the first pick of the draft could be someone picking Lamar Jackson because they saw him on the cover of Madden. They see him absolutely skull fuck the league all last season long, and then they think, oh, now I need to get Lamar Jackson. Please do not be that guy who drafts a quarterback in the first 2 rounds. The value at quarterback is so strong late that you're going to feel like a dumbass drafting one early when the season comes to a close, when you miss out on that solid running back you could have got. Or even though I don't really advise drafting a wide receiver in the first round, you might just miss out on a guy like Davante Adams, who could potentially be the wide receiver 1 when the year comes to a close. Travis Kelce comes as well in the middle. It was a sandwich of quarterbacks and then tight end right in the middle. Travis Kelce obviously going to be outstanding again this year. I actually am kind of debating moving George Kittle up my rankings after we saw Deebo Samuel's injury, because if Deebo Samuel is hurt for an extended amount of time, George Kittle could really be the #1 target for Jimmy Garoppolo. Something I also want to note in this draft is, where are we going to see Cam Newton come off the board? I made 2 videos about Cam Newton getting signed to the New England Patriots, so I wonder where we see him go in this draft. It should be updated. He should be drafted in this draft. Does he get overdrafted by a lot of people? I believe so. In your real draft, I think someone sees wham bam Cam Newton, the Superman, and they try to draft him early, and then they realize that, hey, maybe, in my opinion, I don't think Cam Newton is going to be that top 12 guy that some people may buy into personally, but he obviously does have that upside being on the New England fucking Patriots and being a guy who we saw could be a top 10 quarterback, as well as being the NFL MVP just a couple of years ago. So now, after that fucking rambling about Cam Newton, we're going to be talking about what we're going to be doing with the 208 pick in this draft. I typically don't like being in this position, if I'm being honest with you, in the drafts. I prefer to be towards the end of the draft. I don't like being towards the middle. I like having that swing pick. Even at the beginning, you get that swing pick, so you'd be picking here, say you're like the 211, then you get the 302, so you're coming back-to-back Michael Jordan 96, 97, whereas here, I'm kind of just stuck fingering my own ass for the fucking whole draft while I'm just sitting there in the middle, having just a grand old time. So, as we can see here, now we're looking at more running backs. We already got our main running back early in the draft. That's the whole goal of the draft, is to get a running back in the first round. But obviously, you can go ahead and pick a wide receiver too. I would not judge you there, but at the 105, typically I want to go ahead and get that running back. So now my advice for everyone is to go 2 running backs in the first 3 rounds, whether that means going running back, wide receiver, running back, wide receiver, running back, any type of order you want to put that in. That is my advice. So looking at the running back core here, Kenyon Drake, Miles Sanders, Austin Eckler, CEH, Leonard Fournette, Todd Gurley, and then at wide receiver we see Kenny Jesus, Kenny Golladay, the guy who plays the sacks, Mike Evans, Allen Robinson. So a bunch of solid players at each position, but to me, this is a clear pick. Now, I know most people actually are very off of my take on Austin Eckler. I personally believe Austin Eckler is a top 10 running back. I think he has top 5 potential. Now, I understand Tyrod Taylor is not the king of the dump off, but I kind of had a video about Austin Eckler called Austin Eckler Player Outlook, and I talk about this and really debunk this. With Tyrod Taylor, LaShawn McCoy was a top 10 running back 2 years in a row. So he can clearly still dump off the ball. He knows how to hand the fucking ball off to Austin Eckler. And Austin Eckler is going to be getting these designed plays on offense to get him the ball. The coaches are going to design plays to, holy shit, let me get the best player or the second best player on the team the ball. I guess the best player might be Keenan Allen, but get him the ball. Make sure he can get out open in space, because he could take the ball from being fucking on your own 20 to taking it straight to the house, because he is that skilled of a player. I think Austin Eckler is going to be seeing a ton of dump offs, and in a half PPR league, you want to make sure you can benefit off of getting a guy who you think is going to be catching a bunch of passes in your games, obviously, for you. So right now, through 2 rounds, we have Alvin Kamara and Austin Eckler. A very solid start to our team. If you guys have enjoyed the video thus far, please make sure to click that subscribe button. So after with Austin Eckler, George Kittle comes next. So we see the big 2 tight ends come off the board in the 2nd round. Typically, you're going to see the big 2 tight ends and the big 2 quarterbacks come around the 2nd and 3rd round. So after we see George Kittle, we see Kenyon Drake, Miles Sanders, Kenny Golladay, Leonard Fournette, Mike Evans, Allen Robinson, and Amari Cooper. Now, while I typically like to focus on my own team, since we're drafting against the computer, I actually want to talk about this. Now, this team construction really confused me. It's the team before me: Gronky Kong, Michael Thomas, George Kittle, Amari Cooper. If you're going to go with Michael Thomas, why are you going with fucking George Kittle next? You already have your safety play. Now you go for running backs. You hammer down the running backs. Instead, he goes George Kittle, and then he goes a wide receiver that I think fucking sucks. Well, he doesn't actually suck as a player, but he's just very inconsistent, and I think when you're drafting a guy in the 3rd round, you're not trying to draft the guy who's going to be a risk to your roster every other week, because the guy goes in, he's out. He's in, he's out. He's in, he's out. But not he's not out of the game. He just gets taken out of the game and plays like absolute shit, and then the next week he just dominates. So he's a very confusing player to have on your team. So looking at the board right now, we obviously have Alvin Kamara and Austin Eckler, so we could really go any way here for running back and wide receiver. I really preach waiting on tight end or quarterback till the later rounds. Right now, if you wanted to go tight end, going Mark Andrews obviously would be the best move, obviously. I really like Mark Andrews, and then for the tight ends, I just wait. I don't know if you guys have noticed this. If you're new to the videos, you probably have no idea, but in a lot of my videos, if I don't draft a guy like Mark Andrews in the 3rd round, I just completely say, fuck the tight end position. I'm not drafting one the 5th, 6th, or 7th. I typically then go for like an 8th, 9th, or 10th round pick there for the tight end position. So looking at the board, Juju, Odell, Adam Thielen, DJ Moore, AJ Brown, Cooper Kupp, Calvin Ridley, all still available for wide receivers. For running backs, it's starting to really fall off. CEH, and then it's going to be a bit of a mess besides Le'Veon Bell to me and Chris Carson for guys that are still available. So I'm going to go ahead and dip back into the running back well. Now, I understand going 3 running backs in a row to many people might sound crazy. Nick, you have to start 2 wide receivers, but you also need to start a flex, and my flex all season long can be a running back, and that could be just as good as having a wide receiver there, if not better, if the 3 running backs that I draft early hit like I believe they will. So looking at the reasoning of doing that, like I said, the running backs kind of fall off. The wide receivers run deep. You know how some people in the rap songs, you listen to it, they say, my squad run deep? The fucking wide receivers run deep. That's what they do. There's so many of them that have top 10 potential. You could literally name 30 wide receivers that you think could finish inside of the top 10, and I wouldn't even fucking hate it because there's so many guys. At running back, it really falls off a goddamn click. So I'm going to go ahead and draft CEH here, Clyde Edwards-Helaire out of the Kansas City Chiefs. Now, I understand there's going to be people who are big worried about Clyde Edwards-Helaire. Very big worried because they're thinking Dame, Dalla, Danny, what was his name? They called him fucking Dame, Playoff Dame. Damian Williams was playing good last year in the playoffs, and when he was healthy, he was playing good. But what you have to understand is Clyde Edwards-Helaire could catch passes and run circles around him. He was drafted in the 1st round of the NFL draft because Pat Mahomes and Andy Reid the Walrus believe that he is going to be a vital piece of this offense, and I think why the fuck not in the 3rd round draft a guy like Clyde Edwards-Helaire who potentially could be drafted in your league early in the 2nd round, if I'm being completely honest with you. Had he not have been there, I would have happily have went with Le'Veon Bell as well. I really think Le'Veon Bell is one of the safest running backs for fantasy football in 2020. We saw him have a down year last year, and I think even with the coaching system, because Adam Gase sucks fucking absolutely, he's fucking terrible. He's too busy snorting the coke to be worried about his fucking NFL team, and he's terrible. He just doesn't know how to design these plays for Le'Veon Bell, but it doesn't matter because Le'Veon Bell's fine. He finished as a top 20 running back. Now he's going at a discount. Last year, you drafted him in the 1st round, so people fucking hate him because, oh my god, I drafted not David Johnson. David Johnson, too. People fucking hate that guy. Oh my god, I drafted Le'Veon Bell in the 1st round last year, and he fucking raw-dogged me. Nick, he fucked me right in the ass, and they get pissed off. Don't worry about that. Don't worry about the fact that he screwed you over. Throw that out there. You look at the stats, and you can see that he has room to improve, and he could be better, especially with a better offensive line this year. While I don't think the Jets are going to be any good, I think Le'Veon Bell still could be good. So looking at our team right now, we have Alvin Kamara, Austin Eckler, and CEH. So looking at the board after him, CEH, Adam Thielen, Cooper Kupp, Chris Carson, OBJ, Mark Andrews, Melvin Gordon, DJ Moore, AJ Brown, Zach Ertz, Le'Veon Bell, Cortland Sutton, Juju Smith-Schuster, Todd Gurley, and Calvin Ridley. Something interesting to note, after you see someone pick Cooper Kupp, typically you see Robert Woods come around within the next round, because once someone picks the one guy, everyone goes, holy shit, I remember how good Robert Woods was down the stretch, and then they pick him. I like Robert Woods. That's just just something I notice. It's not like taking a shit on Robert Woods. So, also something to note here is I'm going to be honest with you guys, I am very off of Odell Beckham Jr. I just am. I really believe that the Browns are going to run the ball so much that I can't fathom a reason in drafting a guy like Odell Beckham Jr. when they're going to run the ball so much. I just don't understand it. The guy had a down year last year. People are going to talk, oh, he's going to come back up. I really just don't believe it. Now, something else to talk about here. Smile for the Kamara. Haha, funny joke. Fantasy Pros, they got Nick Chubb, Aaron Jones, Mark Andrews, and Le'Veon Bell. That is a perfect use of drafting a tight end in the 3rd round. I don't like Aaron Jones. There was a zillion running backs that he could have replaced Aaron Jones with, but I still think that that is a solid team. That's a way that I like to draft if I go ahead and draft a tight end. So now we're going to go ahead and be attacking the wide receiver position. I just talked about the guy that I actually want here, and that's Robert Woods. I believe has top 12 potential. We saw down the stretch last season, Robert Woods was absolutely eviscerating defenses. I think we see a similar look to Robert Woods this season in 2020. I think he really steps up and plays even better than we saw last year, especially now with Brandon Cooks moving out of there, and they're going to be doing the 12 personnel with 2 tight ends out there, obviously one to block, probably to help fucking Jared Goff not get put on his ass because that offensive line is not very good. So we'll see more opportunity for Robert Woods, just like we saw deep late in the last season when they started using the 12 personnel situation over there in LA. So after we drafted Robert Woods, Keenan Allen, Devontae Parker, Tyler Lockett, Mark Ingram, Dak Prescott, T.Y. Hilton, Jonathan Taylor, Devin Singletary. I'm going to be honest with you guys. Mark Ingram in the 4th round is a big fucking yikes. I don't want anything to do with that. I think J.K. Dobbins behind him could potentially pull his way past the guy. I'm just kind of worried about that, to be honest with you. And then we see T.Y. Hilton, terrible fucking pick. I really don't think he's going to have a bounce back year. He's been riddled with injury, and I just really don't trust him. And Tyler Lockett comes in the 4th round. Now we're going to see his boy DK Metcalf come probably within this 5th round. They, just like with Robert Woods and with Cooper Kupp, they go right next to each other. You see Lockett come off the board, boom, Metcalf comes a couple picks later. Now, something I want to actually talk about is how Metcalf in a lot of drafts goes above Tyler Lockett. Personally, I believe Tyler Lockett is the safer play, but I do like both of those guys, even in a run-heavy type of system, which is kind of funny because I don't like fucking Odell on the Browns, just strictly because I don't think Odell is really going to be able to do anything this year. So now looking at the wide receivers, we've already got our 3 running backs. We're probably going to dip back into the running back well after we get another wide receiver. So looking at the wide receivers, baby Chark, baby Chark, Terry McLaurin, DK Metcalf, Stephon Diggs, Jarvis, AJ Green, Tyler, Boyd, all still available. But to me, you can actually make an argument for either of these picks. Now, in a lot of these drafts, I actually picked Terry McLaurin. I love Terry McLaurin. This guy's going to tear it up this year. He has so much upside in Washington. But you could also argue the same thing for DJ Chark. Both teams have absolutely booty cheeks of defenses. Both teams are going to have to be throwing the ball a whole lot. So I'm going to go with DJ Chark this time. Personally, I like Terry McLaurin slightly better, but I believe in drafts, if you're doing multiple leagues, you should try to diversify the revenue, as Nick Arcolano says on YouTube. He'll tell you, look, you don't want to put all your eggs in one basket, and I believe that's true. You want to draft different guys in different leagues who you both, if you like both of them, why not switch it up in both leagues, even if you like a guy somewhat a little bit less. So DJ Chark for the Jacksonville Jaguars. Gardner Minshew is bike as the quarterback. Obviously, it was Minshew mania all last season long. DJ Chark came out of nowhere. Everyone was saying, who the fuck is this guy, like they were Conor McGregor, and DJ Chark comes out there and just butt fucks defenses all season long. Kind of like what Terry McLaurin did last year, but except for him, I feel like you just know they're going to be bad. Well, you know the Washington Redskins are going to be bad too, but at least I feel a bit more confident in the quarterback play. I think Haskins isn't completely garbage, but I think that Minshew Mania might actually be slightly better than Mr. Dwayne Haskins. Now we are about halfway through the draft in the 6th round. Actually, not really halfway, but kind of, halfway there. I'm not very good at math. With that said, after we went with DJ Chark, James Conner came out the board, followed by David Johnson, Stephon Diggs, Darren Waller, DK Metcalf, Kyler Murray, Deshaun Watson, David Montgomery, Raheem Mostert, Russell Wilson, Josh Allen, Debo, AJ Green, Terry McLaurin. So we saw kind of a quarterback run mixed in with some running backs. We saw 4 quarterbacks go within 6 picks. You guys are going to have to be getting used to that. The quarterbacks fly off the board later in the draft. You're going to see huge runs of this, and you're not going to want to hop on the runs. You're not going to want to try to take a shit in the middle of the draft. Obviously, that's not what I'm talking about. The runs of players going in the draft. The reason why these runs happen with quarterbacks is because people don't take quarterbacks for a decent amount of time, and then they see one come off the board, and then they panic. They think, holy shit, I'm not going to be able to get the quarterback that I want. I'm going to miss out on a tier of player. That's what you don't want to do. You don't want to just jump on there. You just wait. You get your value at running back or wide receiver, and then you hop back on the quarterbacks later. So that's why Terry McLaurin falls to the 6th round at that spot, because there was a quarterback run. things like that happen. That's when value is created in the next round after that. So, looking at our team, we got Alvin Kamara, Austin Eckler, Robert Woods, DJ Chark, and CEH. So now you can go either way, wide receiver or running back, but I like to build more running backs over wide receivers on a roster because the running backs are going to fall the fuck off, whereas there's a lot of these guys coming in the next couple of rounds at wide receiver that I still think have top upside to be a great flex option or even a solid wide receiver 2 on many weeks. So looking at the board right now for running backs, DeAndre Swift, Cam Akers, Kareem Hunt, Darius Geis, Sony Michel, Keyshawn Vaughn, James White. Now with this Cam Newton news, I'm really starting to like Mr. James White. Now we're not going to pick him here, but I think he could be a pick a couple of rounds from now. So right here, you have to make a true and honest decision that is going to be tough for you. Do you take the risk of Cam Akers, who could potentially be the workhorse in LA, or do you go with the safer pick of Kareem Hunt, who if Nick Chubb gets hurt, will be a workhorse, and if Nick Chubb doesn't get hurt, will still be getting a solid opportunity to touch the ball and could be a great flex option for your team, or even an RB2 in tougher type of situations. So you have to figure out what risk you're willing to take. Do you want to risk it? Do you want to go a bit safer? Let me know in the comments down below if you guys would rather draft Cam Akers or Kareem Hunt. They're pretty close in my ranking, so I'd actually love to hear what you'd say, but I will go with Kareem Hunt here. I will try to go with a safer type of pick at running back. In case CEH kind of shits the bed, while I think he's a safer type of pick, I do kind of worry about Damian Williams for the first couple of weeks really balling out, and then eventually we see CEH really have the takeover a couple weeks into the season. So after we went with my man Karate Kick, Kareem Hunt, Cam Akers came out the board, followed by Hunter Henry, Evan Ingram, Michael Gallup, Jarvis Landry, DeAndre Swift, Matt Ryan, and Drew Brees. So a lot of quarterbacks have came off the board, but we're still going to continue waiting on that position. So right now, we're probably going to go ahead and hammer a wide receiver and then go a bunch of running backs in a row because I really like one running back that is still available that I think will be able to come back to us. Wide receivers still available. You see Tyler Boyd, Julian Edelman, Marquise Hollywood Brown, Marvin Jones, Will Fuller. So a bunch of solid options here, but I think you are going to want to go with a pick here that's a bit kind of, not many people are actually talking about this guy. Now, I'm going to talk about all of these guys so you guys can get the info on all these players. So Tyler Boyd, to me, is my favorite. He's had 2 1,000-yard seasons in a row. The guy's been tearing it up. He's better with A.J. Green on the field versus without, but without A.J. Green on the field, he's still good. Julian Edelman now gets that boost of Cam Newton because you feel more confident in the quarterback. Hollywood Brown is a huge upside play. You throw him in your lineup, and that guy could fuck a defense down and win you your week. It's strictly based off of having a dominant game based on his speed. Marvin Jones, a safe pick for Detroit, might play 13 games, but will be dominant in a lot of those games. Will Fuller, obviously, you deal with the kind of injury concerns with him. Same thing goes with Brandon Cooks, but you bake that in there. That's why they go late, and they definitely have some upside. Potentially, one of them could be the wide receiver 1 in targets for Deshaun Watson. Then you fall down to guys like Christian Kirk, John Brown, who I wouldn't be targeting here. So I'm going to go ahead and get my guy, Tyler Boyd, but I do think all of those guys that I mentioned could be solid picks here in the 7th round. So after my man Tyler, Boyd, Hollywood Brown came off of the board, and then there's going to be a bunch of picks, obviously, after that. So Hollywood Brown, Rod Rodgers, which is a terrible pick, Julian Edelman, Darius Geis, Will Fuller, Brandon Cooks, Darius Slayton, Sony Michel, Damian Williams, Christian Kirk, Marlon Mack, Marvin Jones, Kerryon Johnson, Mike Williams. Mike Williams going early in the 8th round. Typically, Mike Williams is a guy you see deeper into the draft, so kind of scary if he's going to be screaming up those draft boards for a guy that I really liked as a deeper type of sleeper. Now the pick is kind of easy. I kind of, I fucking hit him with the whoop-de-wop. I thought, hey, the wide receiver that I want is not going to be there on the backup. I took a risk, so I took the wide receiver, and a bunch of them went, so this was the right move. Now we can go ahead and get my man James White. Now with Cam Newton in 2018 was the reason why CMC broke it. Not necessarily why, because CMC is a fucking beast, but he would dump the ball off. And you want to know who's going to dump the ball off to? James fucking White. James White has been dominant in fantasy for the last couple of years due to TB12, Tampa Bay, Tom Brady dumping the ball off a zillion times. I think we could see that with Cam Newton this year. So we're still going to continue to wait on the quarterback train, but it is the 9th round. But if we're being honest with you, Hayden Hurst is going to scream up these draft boards. He's going to be a guy you have to attack 9th or 10th round, and I'm going to go ahead and make sure I get a guy who I believe has top 5 tight end potential in Atlanta. Dirk Cutter loves. He's the offensive coordinator. He loves to get the tight end involved. He had Austin Hooper ball out in just 13 games. If Hayden Hurst can play 16, he might have that top 4 potential. The guy is a beast, And the system loves to throw the ball to the tight end, as does Mr. Matty Ice Baby. Interesting to note, actually, before we go over the picks, they have Cam Newton ranked as quarterback number 19, so we may actually not see him get drafted until even later that I thought he may actually get picked around like the 10th or 11th round. So after one with Hayden Hurst, Sterling Shepard came off the board, followed by Phillip Lindsay, Cole Hardman, Jordan Howard, Pittsburgh Steelers defense. Don't draft the defense before the last 2 rounds. I'll explain to you how to draft a defense later. Keyshawn Vaughn, Alshon Jeffrey, Jameson Crowder, J.K. Dobbins, Sammy Watkins, Baltimore Ravens, Tevin Coleman, Alexander Madison, Tyler Higbee. Dobbins is not going to go in the 10th round. I'm just going to tell you that right now. He has amazing potential on a super run-heavy team. He'll probably be like a 7th round pick. Alexander Madison in the 10th round. That's kind of late for him, considering a lot of people are kind of worried about the holdout situation, and I am too, to be honest with you. I don't know what's going to happen with Dalvin Cook. I didn't even notice at the 8-11, someone took the San Francisco defense. Don't be doing that either. That guy's the biggest idiot of the draft because he took the defense first. No one's taking a kicker yet, though. So we are in the 10th round, and around here is when I start looking for quarterback. So right here, I see there is kind of a tier break right here. So I'm going to go ahead and get Tom Brady. Well, normally in fantasy, I like to attack a running type of quarterback, but this offense is just way too good for it not to work out. It seems too good to be true, but it just can't be. Chris Godwin, Mike Evans, Gronk, O.J. Howard, Keyshawn fucking Vaughn. He has so many guys to throw the ball to. It has to be good. Tom Brady is still good. He was just kind of limited by the fact that Bill didn't want him to throw the ball as much. So I think we see Tom Brady absolutely tear it up this year. And not even that Bill didn't want him to throw it too much. It's just his wide receivers just weren't as good as you typically see out of the Patriots, because Tom Brady could turn anyone who's fucking some random lacrosse player that Bill Belichick finds on the street into a beast in the Super Bowl. But now he's finding these guys who are already beasts now he has in Tampa Bay with Bruce Arians. So now we are looking at the draft board. We're almost done with the draft. We got 3 picks left, and we got to draft a defense and a kicker, but we obviously do that last. Latavius Murray, Tariq Cohen, Darrell Henderson, Golden Tate, Robbie Anderson, Henry Ruggs, Anthony Miller, and the Buffalo Bills defense all come off the board. So now it's time to take some shots on some late round wide receivers that I think have some big potential this year. And speaking of the Patriots, I like my guy N'Keal Harry here. Now, he had no opportunity last season to get it done like you thought he would have been able to. He gets hurt before preseason, he misses a bunch of games, and then he comes in and Tom Brady, you know what Tom Brady does? He does the, I have no idea who you are, we haven't really practiced, so I'm not going to throw you the ball. That's what Tom Brady does. He relies on the chemistry. He didn't have the chemistry with N'Keal Harry. But now, obviously, it's a whole new year. He's going to have all of the preseason, all of the offseason that's going to start, I believe, at the end of July, so he should be fine. We're going to see N'Keal Harry have a breakout season this year. I honestly believe it. Even though I don't believe Cam Newton is the best passer we've ever seen grace the NFL, I think that he's obviously a step up from Jarrett Stidham. So, after we went with that pick, we're probably still going to dip into back and forth between running backs and wide receivers, because I typically don't draft 2 quarterbacks or 2 tight ends in a 12-team league. I just don't believe you have to. You just cut someone, add a new quarterback when Tom's on bye week 13. You cut a tight end or some random person on your roster, and they get a tight end week 10 from Hayden Hurst. As long as Hayden Hurst isn't a bust, then obviously you just fucking drop Hayden Hurst after a couple of weeks of disappointing. N'Keal Harry, after we went with him, Chicago Bears defense, Justin Jefferson, Jared Cook, Jalen Reagor, Zach Moss, Deshaun Jackson, Austin Hooper, Duke Johnson, New England Patriots defense, Preston Williams, Adrian Peterson, Vikings defense, Wentz, Tony Pollard. Funny thing to note, actually, about this draft is that there's someone named Deshaun Jackson who went in the 11th round. Now, I made a video about underappreciated players, I believe it was called, and Deshaun Jackson is one of them, because week 1, this guy is dominant every year, week 1. So if you draft him round 11, you know for sure you got a guy you throw in your flex, and he could win you week 1 straight up, because the guy's a god week 1, but then he always ends up getting hurt, so that's obviously worrisome. I just thought it was interesting to note that pick, and the pick before, Zach Moss, who I really love. I think could really be seeing a dominant amount of touches in that Bills offense, maybe not really dominant, but like a 45 to 55 split share with Devin Singletary. So now it is time to either pick another running back or another wide receiver, like we said. So first, we're going to go ahead and get a running back that I think might have some upside given something happens. I think if Miles Sanders was to get hurt, right now there's no one behind Miles Sanders besides Boston Scott, who I think could really take that role. And if that was to happen to Miles Sanders, I think Boston Scott could be a straight-up league winner off of that because of how talented the guy really is. And we saw it last year a bit, even though no one was really hurt, he was still playing after when it was just him and Miles Sanders because all the other running backs ended up fucking perishing away. They got Thanos snapped out of existence. After that, Boston Scott, we see Curtis Samuel, Phillip Rivers, Naheem Hines, Gronk, Mr. Chase Edmonds, Matthew Snapback, Justin Jackson, call me Miss Jackson, and Jamal Williams. I actually don't understand who the dumb fuck is who took Phillip Rivers over Matthew Stafford, because Matthew Stafford, if he doesn't get hurt last year, would have been a top 12 quarterback, would have been maybe a top 6 quarterback because he was on MVP pace when he was healthy. I believe he played out of his 8 games he played, 5 games he was inside of the top 6. So the guy was straight up dominant last season. Now we're going to get our Mr. Irrelevant pick, but he's not so relevant. It's going to be Mr. Brandon Ayuk, who is going to step in for, obviously, Deebo Samuel. We don't know right now. It's obviously June right now. You guys, I think, are watching this July 1st, the day my draft guide is going to drop, so make sure you check that out if I didn't say that already. I don't think I did. There's going to be a video about that later in today, but we don't know right now if Deebo is going to be healthy for the start of the season. So right now I'd take Ayuk off of that hunch that I think he might miss a couple of games, and the fact that I think he has a build similar to Deebo Samuel where he could really ball out in that system of the 49ers with Mr. Jimmy Guap. So after we went with Brandon Ayuk, Antonio Gibson, Chiefs defense, A.J. Dillon, Baker the Faker Mayfield, Rashad Penny, who I don't understand drafting, Devontae Freeman, who I don't understand drafting, Booger McFarland's son, Anthony McFarland, Justin Tucker the fucker, Big Ben Roethlisberger, Ryan Tannehill, Old Man Larry Fitz, Damian Harris, Rock Armstead, Justice Hill. Now it's time to draft our kicker and our defense. So the way you draft a kicker and defense is you're going to be drafting a defense based off of a guy who has an easy week 1 matchup. The Chargers are playing Cincinnati week 1 against Joe Burrow in his rookie season. I think Joe Burrow might falter in that game, and the Chargers have a good defense, so that's how you do it. It's pretty fucking simple. You just draft a defense with an easy week 1 matchup, and then you know what you do at the end of week 1? You cut ties with them. As long as if they have a good matchup week 2, you keep them against a bad offense, but then you cut ties with them and you find a new one based off of a video I'm going to make every single week of which defense to pick up. And then for kicker, you're just going to pick, I'm going to make a kicker ranking video probably in August, but you just pick the guy that you think is going to do the best. And we're going to go with Kaimi Fairbairn because I think the fact is that the Houston Texans are going to be in field goal range a lot, and they're going to have to be kicking a ass load of field goals due to the fact that I think DeAndre Hopkins not being there is going to hurt them a lot. So our team finishing, we got a B rating, but that doesn't really matter too much. You shouldn't really buy all in to the grade because you get an F on the grade and still win your fucking league due to the things you do during the season. So it shouldn't really matter too much. I'm going to make myself a bit bigger here as I explain my team. So our finishing roster to recap, we have our starting quarterback, Tom Brady. Our 2 starting running backs are Alvin Kamara and Austin Eckler. Our 2 starting wideouts are Robert Woods and Baby Chark. Baby Chark. Our tight end is Hayden Hurst. Our flex is Clyde Edwards-Helaire. Our defense is the LA Chargers. Our kicker is Kaimi Fairbairn. Our bench is comprised of Karate Kick, Kareem Hunt, Tyler, Boyd, James White, N'Keal Harry, Boston Scott, and Brandon Ayuk. So if you guys did end up enjoying this video, please make sure to slap that subscribe button. Make sure to click on one of the videos that's on your screen. Make sure to know that I fucking love you, and I'll see you guys later with some draft guide information, and I'll see you tomorrow with yet another banger of a video. Goodbye, guys. I love you all.